Well, I'm excited for today's guest. We're talking with actor and storyteller Tim Joe. Man, so many great projects under his belt. Starting off, of course, with Reasonable Doubt, which premieres in August on the 22nd, right around there. But other great things too: The Neighbors, Beef, This Is Us, For All Mankind. I mean, the list goes on and on. Pitch, which was another great show.
Yeah,
Um, when you hear all of this, well, first of all, thank you for your time, but you've had a really cool career. And we were just talking, you've worked with Dan Fogelman a good part of your career, yeah, for a while.
yeah, I would say a majority of my career has been touched by an angel, and that angel's name is Dan Fogelman. Yeah.
So how does it work? Does he get a new project and then he calls you or sends you an email and says, "Hey, I'm doing this. We've worked together before." I mean, it's just so cool, especially with all the great work that he's done too.
It's been a little bit more magical in a way that my first job with him was The Neighbors, and we did two awesome seasons it's still probably one of my favorite jobs I've ever done.
Yeah.
Um, and then for 2 or 3 years, I just couldn't get a job to save my life. There was nothing in sight. I just couldn't, nothing was sticking. And then I get an audition for a Dan Fogelman project, and I struggle with it. And I'm reading with my wife, and she's like, "You're too in your head. Dan knows you. Just do what you do." I'm like, "I can't do it. I can't do it." So I walk into the audition for Pitch, and I'm like, I don't have this character, but I'm just gonna do it because I'm just gonna show up. And right before I start even my audition, the casting director says, "Dan wrote this role for you, so it's yours. We can tape this as many times as you want, but yeah, he wrote it for you. So congrats."
That
And so
has to be so cool as an actor to just almost get, I mean, handed it, not handed to you, but like written for you, and he just knows that you're the guy.
that is a gift that I am eternally grateful for. And then a couple years after Pitch, again, another drought. I couldn't get a secure job to save to save my life. Um, and then I get a call saying, "Are you available in September or whatever it was?" And I was like, "Yeah, they have there's a This Is Us was asking." And I was like, okay.
You're like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm available." They said it's they're and I said, "When's the audition?" And they said, "It's not an audition, it's an offer for a 4 episode arc." And I was like, and yeah, I remember when that finally came through, and I got to tell my parents that I had secured another job finally, and it was through Dan again. It was maybe the first time in my career that I wept with my parents. We were just so elated and excited. And those 4 episodes turned into 4 seasons.
Yeah, Jae-won, that was such a fun character. That was such a great show. But
Yeah.
I feel like everything that you've done has been just very special, starting, of course, with Reasonable Doubt. It's a great show.
Thank
Season
you.
two is coming out here very soon. How
Mhm.
did that job come about for you? What was it that interested you in being a part of that project in particular?
I mean, maybe a theme, a recurring theme in my career is that once I finish a gig, I most people say I haven't worked for a couple months. I'm struggling. It's so tough. I actually go a couple years without being able to secure a job. And so again, it was 2020, 2022 or 2021. I couldn't get a job, and I was really struggling, and I decided to put acting on pause. I had a child. I felt I was mentally, physically the most capable I'd ever been in my life, and I needed to put that energy into a job that can provide for my family. So I told my team, "Hey guys, I'm putting this on pause until I can, you know, feel like my head is back above water." Uh, I took on a whole new job, and I said, "You guys aren't allowed to call me. I don't, I can't live my life, at least currently, hoping for anything right now. The new job I got, I loved. So I was like, I need to fully commit to this job. And after a little bit of twisting my arm, I agreed to one stipulation, which is if you can secure a series regular audition that shoots in LA, then I might be able to juggle that with my other job. And a couple months later, 3 months later, I found something in my inbox, and I told my wife, a deal's a deal. Let's put this on tape. Uh, and as the story goes, with the least amount of care, I just very loosely uh, put it on tape, and that was the gig that turned out to be Reasonable Doubt.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've heard that before from other actors where it's like not that you don't care, but when you just don't think about it and then
Yeah,
you do it, it winds up turning out to be something big. And to be able to have the confidence to say, please only approach me with this. Because that is true to your point, what you said about, a lot of actors like, oh, it's been 2 or 3 months since I've had a job, but to go years, but that is the life of an actor.
yeah. I would say, maybe back 10, 15, 10 years ago, my advice to people whenever they said they wanted to be an actor, my first question would be, are you in classes? And I would say that was a crucial element to
Yeah.
being an actor. I would say almost now, in the climate that we're living in, and how difficult it can be to maintain this as your solo career, I would almost say there's two things: is one, be in classes, and secondly, have a job so that your life doesn't revolve around acting, that uh all your needs are not going to be met by acting, that you're not waiting by the phone all the time. I think, especially now with, the economy, I think to have another job that allows you to have acting as the icing on the cake of life.
Yeah.
And so when the opportunity arrives and you're ready and you book that job, you can fully indulge in it and appreciate it. But for too many years, I was strangling the baby of acting, saying, "Give me something."
Yeah, but I want to ask you about that because there have been other actors who are fairly well known. Well, I just spoke to somebody a few months ago who was a series regular on Shameless and then did other things, but now has taken on a job, bartending at night.
Mhm.
And I think part of it too, COVID messed things up and made it worse. And then the strike made it
Right.
harder. And now it's just a different world landscape. Used to be you go into a room and audition. Now it's all done tape so they can see triple the amount of people. And it's the pond is widened. But my point is, it's like, it's okay to have a job that you can, especially if you have a family, right? I mean, if you're single, you can live on hopes and dreams and going out to 40, 50 auditions, whatever it might be, right? But when you have a kid, and I just know this from experience, you feel a different level of pressure. But the
Yeah.
fact that you're able to let it go and be okay with, okay, I can work another job. And then if something comes along, I'm okay to take it, right? That's a big deal to be able to get to that place.
It's almost acknowledging the fact that acting doesn't have to be a dream. It can be a reality, and
Right.
acknowledging that it is very possible for all of us to become a working actor. Uh, and because even while I was doing This Is Us, I was delivering flowers, making flower arrangements. I was busy because my wife and I were running a floral studio. So I was
Right.
delivering flowers before work, after work, and doing people's weddings on the weekends. Um, and there was a time, to be very honest, that my ego got a little bit in the way because I'd be working a wedding, sweeping up flowers, and somebody would notice me. I'd be like, don't look at me."
Yeah. That's the
Uh,
risk you run, though, I guess,
but I'm proud
right?
of, now I'm very proud of the fact that,
Yeah.
I think, uh, yeah, I'm very proud of the fact that I was able to get around that and understand that having a career to build what I wanted to also pursue was essential to my journey.
Yeah, I've heard that story many times. Classically, I cannot think of his name. I've had him on my show, but he was on the Cosby Show, A Different World, and then he was
Mhm.
working at Trader Joe's, and people started
Right. Jeffrey.
recognizing him.
Yeah.
Jeff, yeah. And we talked about that story in detail when he was on during the pandemic. It was interesting because, like, to him, it was nothing. He's just working. But I think, excuse me, as I said, you have to find that balance. So now, would you say at this point in your career, Tim, you're pretty leveled out, right? Like you've got a great job now with Reasonable Doubt, which we'll talk about. But when this is over, you're perfectly well and good going back to whatever your other job is, or unless you have something else lined up, so to speak.
No, I think you're right in the sense of the need, you know, having a child definitely helped put that in perspective of as I was holding my baby, I said, there's nothing I would ever require you to give me. I'm going to live the rest of my life providing to you.
Yeah.
That's sort of the attitude that I've put upon my acting career, which is you don't need to give me anything. You don't need to give me jobs. I want to go back to where I fell in love with acting, which is I just want to be here for you and show up when I'm needed and just give you all my love, my artistry, my storytelling, my passions. But you don't if you're not going to give me a job, hey, I'm actually I don't need it from the career anymore.
I love it. It's like, almost like a mistress or something like I don't know if that's the right
An ego
appropriation.
death, definitely. I went through a definite ego death with
Yeah, yeah. It's like, you know, she gives you all the attention that you could get or want on a big show. I mean, you could easily go, I've worked with some of the best in the business. I was on an Emmy award winning show, and then go back to doing whatever it is that you're doing. I
yeah,
mean, people have done it since the beginning of time who go out to Hollywood to make it, right? It's either waiting tables, food delivery, Uber, Lyft, whatever. I think we've learned in years past and recent that like it's an extremely small percentage of people who fully rely upon this, like, you know,
yeah,
without, and even smaller, probably those who don't go through that struggle that you mentioned about, sitting by the phone after going out for 55 auditions, interviews, and not hearing anything back. That's tough. But you've had an awesome career, I think.
thank
So,
you.
so congratulations. I mean, I know who you are. If I
Yeah,
saw you in LA somewhere, I would definitely recognize you, and say hi, because of all these great shows. So my hat's off to you
thank,
for, yeah, of course, for managing, like, even when Angela sent me an email and said, "Hey, would you like to talk to Tim?" I was like, "Yeah, I love that guy. He's a cool dude and he's had some really fun projects." So, um very eclectic career for sure. So let's talk about Reasonable Doubt. Tell us who Daniel is if people haven't seen the show. It's a very cool show and you are a series regular, a lead on the show, and it's a great cast and just a really cool story that you all are telling.
yeah. I mean, Reasonable Doubt is a very holistic look into the life of a woman, and she is a lawyer. And not only do you get to see how she navigates her work life, but you get to see her personal life, her friends, her relationships with her parents. And so you're getting a full look into a woman's life, all the good and a lot of the bad and a lot of the in-betweens and the spicy and the, it's a very mature show. So you're getting a glimpse into all of these aspects of her life. And I operate in her work life. And I played Daniel, who is her private investigator at the law firm. And it took me a minute to understand what my function was because I play the comedic relief in the show in a very spicy drama. But I did realize that as you know, as this woman Jax navigates such a complicated life, for some reason she has surrounded her work life, her where she's operating with a bunch of uh, powerful white men, dominating white men. She's surrounded herself with this like sort of lighthearted, silly private investigator. She needs the top of the top to do for her to be at the top of the top. So it made me acknowledge, okay, I have to accept something about Daniel. His intelligence and his abilities are at the top, but there's something about his lightness that she must require to really operate in this world and feel safe. And so that's something about Daniel that I had to really uh, navigate, dig into, and try to remind myself to bring to set every day, which was this security, this comfort, and this joy that Jax needs to operate in this cutthroat world.
Yeah, very good stuff. It's almost like your character Jae-won in a way where he was this balance to Randall's character to Randall in the sense of like the I don't want to use the term delusion that he had, but keeping it real, so to speak, of
Yeah,
how he felt like his world was operating versus the reality that you brought to his world. Do you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Which I think it's cool when the characters are layered like that.
yeah, yeah. That was both characters have been such a gift to play. Like, I mean, I still pinch myself that I worked so deeply with Sterling.
Yeah, you've had a really good career. I mean, Neighbors was really good. I mean, just all the things that we've listed here have just really stood out in time. I want to talk about Beef because that was a fun series on Netflix.
Yeah,
You were a praise team member. I recognized you from that.
yeah,
And ironically enough, growing up in that world, I knew all of the songs that you guys were singing, which was kind of fun for me to sort of have a little bit of nostalgia. How did you book that role? What did you think about it? It was definitely a very dark comedy,
yeah.
sort of different niche than anything we had ever seen before.
I that one actually came through not even through acting, because turns out the career shift that I made was to be the music director at my church.
Oh, that's cool.
So I am a bassist, and I decided to be the music director at my church. Accepted the position there, and
That's a cool gig to have.
thank you. It's maybe one of my favorite jobs I've ever had. And my pastor, he actually was in a band with Sonny Lee, who was the showrunner and writer of Beef, the creator of Beef. So they knew each other back in college. So when Sonny wrote Beef and said, I have this whole element of the church and a worship team, he asked his old college roommate, hey, uh, do you know any Korean worship teams? And then he's like, well, why don't you guys use my worship team? And so, in a weird way, that's how we sort of got inserted into Beef. Was my church's worship team was
Okay.
to not only be on screen for the show, but we also went through a whole recording process. We wrote the songs, we recorded them, and got to perform them on set.
Yeah, I was gonna say when I was watching that, I felt that because I know for some things, you get people in there and they don't know that stuff or aren't familiar with that world. So they have sessions where you learn and you're an actor and you have a job. But I felt like in a way, that's why I was excited to ask you about it because I thought to myself, these guys really feel like a worship praise team. Like
Yes.
they kind of have that vibe. There was like even though you're in a story and you're acting, so to speak, there
Yeah.
was like a level of honesty and like I'm like, hey, these guys are good. They need to put out a praise album. I'm sure your church probably does have a praise album or something, but it just felt like really natural. So that's cool. Again, having grown up and being a part of that world and still am, I think it's cool. I mean,
No,
that's a great way to have a job and to also do something that and are very passionate about.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
Do people at church know you from stuff, or do they just look at you as Tim and don't really think about like the actor version of yourself?
Well, I'm a bassist, so
You're pretty in the shadows. Yeah.
nobody
Okay.
knows who the bassist ever is. They don't even know what the bass does. So
Except when they make a mistake, then everybody knows.
exactly, you know, you really know.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've been there for
Exactly.
years, decades, my friend. I get it. Nobody notices anything until somebody messes up, and then
Yeah.
everybody recognizes who you are.
Yeah. And on the flip side, I would say if the music's really good, the band, like they maybe the drummer or the guitarist may get the compliment, but it's the bassists that are silently sitting back, being like, "Yeah, I brought those dynamics."
I mean, you keep time for everybody else. So
Yeah, yeah,
that's very cool. I mean, really, it's a charmed life in a way because you get to do something that you're called to do as far as worship and leading and also acting. So the spirituality and the calling, I feel like, are very, probably very well intertwined.
they are.
So,
Yeah.
and to have actors in the industry who, are believers, I think is very cool. And the fact that, like, I had my surmise assumptions about that, but because it came up naturally, we can talk about it. But it makes sense to why you've had. You mean there's your talent, but why you've had such success and why you have this calmness and peace about not really stressing necessarily about getting to the next gig, and to
Yeah.
tell your team who probably panicked,
They did.
hey, yeah. Well, I mean, of course. I mean, we know what that comes from. That's just the nature of the beast of what you do. Um, very cool. Very cool stuff. So we've got this show again, as I said, it premieres at the end of August. Are
Yeah.
you excited about people to see this and now learn more about your character and take us deeper into this world?
Yeah, I mean, if season one for me was about surrendering to who Daniel was and the way he operated and trusting Ramla, our showrunner, in the way that Daniel was supposed to exist in the space. And I say all that because, I did try to build a career where I did not want to play someone that was outwardly nerdy or weak or meek. But
Right.
Daniel on the surface sort of came off that way. And so there was a long process of acceptance that I had to do of truly just surrendering and trusting uh, my showrunner and the story. And so that was all season one was surrendering and trusting. And so season two for me has been about just courage, going forth with boldness and allowing Daniel to really uh, bring that levity to the show. And so that appeared in ways of being a lot more loose on set with Daniel's character. He's a little bit more unpredictable, and that was also given that permission was given to me by the writer who really gracefully said, Tim, if you want to say a different joke or if you want to say something different completely, the ball's in your court. You have my permission. So that was a huge gift. So I think season two, hopefully Daniel will continue to bring even more light to the show where it's needed.
Yeah, for sure. Well, one last question, my friend. So we mentioned early on in our conversation about your parents and how they've observed your career and, you know, uh, not taking the traditional route of what your parents or culture might think you should do. You fall in love with acting, you do it. What do they think about your life now? Since you've had success, you've been in the public eye playing all these different eclectic type characters and have really experienced what I consider to be success as an actor and storyteller. Are they excited? Do they watch what you do? Do they have notes for you? Feedback, all of the fun
Uh,
stuff.
they watch it all. Uh, they were very adamant in 2021 telling me that I could not quit, which was interesting because like anybody who tells their parents they want to become an actor, the first thing that I got in the very beginning was resistance of saying, like, "Are you sure? It seems
Yeah.
like uh, we want you to have a secure job." But you know, 15 years later, for my parents to say you cannot quit. You know, you're so close. You can't quit. That was an interesting conversation when I was convincing them that I needed to uh, step out of acting. So now, yeah, their support has been great. They have enjoyed all my characters. I'm interested in I have a film coming out uh on the 20th called Art of a Hit, and
Okay.
it's a character unlike one that I've played before. Uh he's not nice. He's not funny. He's actually quite he's a lot cooler than me as well. I play an electric guitarist of a 90s band. So for that movie, my hair is down to past my shoulders, and I'm wearing
Nice.
my skinny jeans from the 2000s. Uh, so yeah, I'm excited for everyone to see that, and really excited for my parents to see that side of me too.
Awesome. Well, that is it. The Art of a Hit. We also have Reasonable Doubt. If you've never watched This Is Us, I mean, I
What
think,
do you know? Yeah,
what are you doing? Where
yeah.
are you in life? Um, Very cool stuff. Congratulations, man. This has been a blessing. I really do mean that, just to chat with you and connect and have a good conversation. Again, Pitch was another great one. So sad that that didn't make it. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's the life of an actor, right? You just never know how it's going to go and where it's going to end. One last question, real quick. If Jae-won, where would he be at today? Like, if you had to go back and revisit that character, would he still be in the political scene, or would he just be off uh, doing something different altogether, separate?
You know, I'm not sure. I love that question because I always felt in my own way if there were ever a spin-off. I was like, J1 deserves one. I think
Yes.
there's something beautiful about the Korean American experience, and especially J1's where he comes from and the world that he navigated, finding himself into politics and then uh, running into Randall. So I would like to love to assume that he continues in politics. Um, but there were always there were hints about Jae-won getting married, proposing to his wife, his girlfriend Hannah. That was
Yep.
in the episodes. So I'd love to see his home life, his family life, his parents, everything. I think that'd be a really fun and fascinating story to tell.
Yes. Reasonable Doubt premiering on August 22nd, season two, with our guest, Tim, and his great character, Daniel. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you hanging out today, and congratulations on all your success. I really do mean that.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the conversation, letting it go down the path of faith as well. And you understand the actor's journey so well. This was a very special conversation.
Thank you.